Hi, hello everyone. Hello English readers. Welcome to a new live again of Mrs Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, in which I host live readings like this one, and I read adaptations of classics of English literature, but also contemporary adaptations of contemporary novels. And I tend to prioritize novels written by women. In my book club, once a week, we meet with the members of the book club. We meet via Zoom to discuss the chapters read over the week. And we also talk about books in general and English learning. And today we are going to read section 5 of the novel, because there are no chapters, as I explained in my previous videos before. And if you want to know more about the novel and and Virginia Woolf and the context of this book, then I invite you to listen to a live podcast that I recorded last week, and it's called An Introduction to Virginia Woolf and Mrs Dalloway, and it's episode 17, and it's coming out next Thursday. So make sure you listen to this podcast to know more about this novel. Hi, hello, Elise. Hello to the most beautiful teachers. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And I hope that you're going to enjoy the reading of Mrs. Dalloway. Okay, so before I start the reading of section 5, which is going to be a very short reading, it's basically 3 pages, so it's going to be very short today. So yesterday we read a section mainly dedicated to Peter Walsh. Peter Walsh is Clarissa Dalloway's friend, and he has been away in India for a couple years, and he's back because he is interested in he's in love, not interested, is in love with a married woman, and he needs to see his lawyers in London. So he's back in London, back to London, and he took this opportunity to visit his old friend Clarissa. And so they have this chat that we talked about, in which they reminisce, they talk about their past, and they having a nice time remembering their memories of this summer spent at Burton, the country house in which Clarissa grew up. But then when Peter announces that he's in love, then it's like a shock for Clarissa. And when he announces to her that, the woman he's in love with is a married woman, then there is a change in Clarissa's thoughts. She's not kind of jealous anymore, but she's actually, this information actually confirms the reason why she didn't marry him and instead chose Richard Dalloway. And in chapter, in not chapter, I insist with the chapters. I say it so many times that in section 4, Peter Walsh has left Clarissa's house, and he's thinking back, he's thinking again about his conversation with her and how she is still the same, always kind of uptight and cold woman, and that she hasn't really changed in this way. And we learned that the summer Richard visited Clarissa's house, well, came to Clarissa's house, Peter Walsh instantly understood that it is the man that she will marry. They were dating at the time, and when Richard spent the summer at Burton, she decides to break up with him, and he is left heartbroken and jealous of Richard. But at the same time, he's got a certain lucidity about the fact that he knows why she chose Richard instead of him. Why she finds in him what he has not been able to give her. He was so in love with her that in some way, he behaved very childishly or in a very possessive way, and he knows that it was making scenes for anything, and deep down he knows that this is the reason why Clarissa didn't choose him, and he's so sad about it. And so it's a very sad, we feel very sorry for him in a way, although the fact that he is in love with a married woman, is always been in these kind of love affairs, very kind of for Clarissa, in a way, when she learns that he is married to a married woman, he is in love with a married woman, he hasn't changed as well, because he behaves the same as when they were young and dating. It doesn't say here in the adaptation, but in the novel, we know that he's been sleeping with very young women. He's not it doesn't like aging as well. He likes to stay young and, attractive to younger women. And it's also something that Clarissa, one of the reasons why Clarissa didn't choose him, didn't marry him, really. She sense that in him, although they enjoyed very much each other's company. Okay, so now let's start section 5. But as she walked down the wide path, Rezia Warren-Smith was saying to herself, "Why should I suffer?" She had left Septimus, who wasn't Septimus anymore, talking to himself, saying hard, cruel things, talking to a dead man. So here in this section, it seems like we are going to go back to Septimus and Rizia's story, and we left them at Regent's Park, in which Rizia was acting a little bit strangely, in a very odd way, when she was trying to hide Septimus's behavior or strange behavior. And in a way, she ended up having herself a strange behavior towards people passing by in the park. So it was also a very moving and sad part of the book about concerning Rizia, because she feels very lonely, not being able to talk about Septimus's problem, Septimus's mental illness, and all the things that she doesn't comprehend about him. And the fact that he was a different man before the war. And when he came back, he doesn't talk much, and he's in his own world, and she cannot communicate with him. So she feels very lonely. Okay, so let's continue. She had left Septimus, who wasn't Septimus any longer, talking to himself, saying hard, cruel things, talking to a dead man. No, I can't bear it anymore, she was saying, when the little girl ran into her, fell down, and began to cry. That was strangely comforting. She stood the little girl upright, brushed the dirt from her dress, and kissed her. But she had done nothing wrong herself. She had loved Septimus. She had been happy. She had had a beautiful home in Milan, and her sisters still lived there, making hats. Why should she suffer? The little girl ran straight back to her nanny. Rizia saw the kind-looking man next to them give her his watch to look at, to comfort her. But why should she suffer? Why hadn't she been left in Milan? Why? Through her tears, the wide path, the nanny, the man in grey, the pram, all rose and fell before her eyes. She must go back to Septimus, since it was almost time for them to go to Sir William Bradshaw. She must go back to him, sitting there on the green chair under the tree, talking to himself, or to that dead man, Evans, whom she had only seen once for a moment in Milan. He had seemed a nice, quiet man, a great friend of Septimus, and he had been killed in the war. But such friend of Septimus, but such a thing happened to everyone. Everyone has friends who were killed in the war. Everyone gives up something when they marry. She had given up her home. She had come to live here in this awful city. But Septimus let himself think about horrible things, and she could too if she tried. He had got stranger and stranger. He said people were talking behind the bedroom walls. He saw things too. He had seen an old woman's head in the middle of a plant. He explained how evil people were and how he could see them inventing lies as they passed in the street. He knew all their thoughts, he said. He knew everything. He knew the meaning of the world, he said. Yet he could be happy when he chose. They had been to Hampton Court Palace on an open-top bus, and they were perfectly happy. He had talked and laughed and chatted, but suddenly he had said, "Now we will kill ourselves." When they were standing by the river, he had looked at the river with a look she had also seen in his eyes when a train went by. She felt he was going from her, and she caught him by the arm. So he wanted to throw himself against the train, in front of the train, sorry. When they got home, he could hardly walk, sorry. He could hardly walk. He lay on the sofa and made her hold his hand to prevent him from falling down, he cried, into the fire. He saw faces laughing at him, calling him horrible names, and hands pointing. He began to talk about answering people, arguing, laughing, crying, getting very excited, and making her write things down. It was all nonsense about death, about Miss Isabel Paul, who had taught him Shakespeare. She was near him now. She could see him gazing at the sky, whispering. Yet Dr. Holmes said there was nothing the matter with him. What happened then? So you see, she's noticing all those strange thoughts that he has and all the strange things that he says and how he behaves. And yet, Dr. Holmes, one of the doctors that he's treating him, he's got two doctors. And this Dr. Holmes is saying that, well, there is nothing wrong going on. And she's questioning still this kind of this deduction from the doctor. She's questioning the doctor. Why did he jump when she sat down next to him and point at her hand, looking terrified? Was it because she had taken off her wedding ring? My hand has grown so thin, she said. I've put the ring in my purse. He dropped her hand. Their marriage was over, he thought, with pain and relief. He was free. He was alone. He, Septimus, had been called to hear the truth. Voices above his head spoke to him. Red flowers grew through his body. He felt that he was lying on a rock in the middle of the sea. I leaned over the edge of the boat and fell down. Under the sea, he thought. I have been dead, but now I am alive. And it's very interesting to read so many references to the river, the sea, when we know that Virginia Woolf has drowned herself in the river about 20 years later. A bit less than 20 years, because she drowned herself in 1941. So a bit less than 20 years after the publishing of this novel. So you see the parallel and the allusion or the mention of the river that comes back again and again, or the sea. And actually she published another novel called The Waves. So there is always this relation to the water, to the river, and this relation with the the river, water always is mentioned in her novel, or is present in her novel. I leaned over the edge of the boat and fell down under the sea. He thought, I've been dead, but now I'm alive. He's alive under the sea. So when he's dead, it's when he's alive. You see, so there is sort of a relief in being dead, a renaissance in being dead. Yeah, it's as if when dying, he will reborn. Okay. I leaned over the edge. Oh, I read that again. Sorry. I've been dead, but now I'm alive. But let me rest, he begged. He was talking to himself again. It was awful, awful. And as a sleeper feels himself pulled to the shore of life when he wakes, so he felt himself pulled towards life. The sun became hotter, cries sounded louder. He just had to open his eyes. But a weight was on them, a fear. He pushed, he looked, he saw Regent Spark in front of him. Sunlight fell at his feet. Trees waved, birds flew round and round. Beauty was everywhere. It's time, said Rizia. The word time cracked open. Words fell from his lips without him making them. He sang, and Evans answered from behind the tree. So here it's in his head. The dead were in Greece. Evans sang. So Evans is his friend that died in the war. Among the flowers, they had been waiting there till the war was over. And now the dead. Now Evans himself. No, don't come, Septimus cried, for he could not look at the dead. Hi, hello, Etienne. But the branches parted. A man in grey was actually walking towards them. It was Evans. But there was no mud on him, no wounds, not wounds. He was not changed. Sorry. Oh, sorry. But there was no mud on him, no wounds. He was not changed. He must tell the whole world, Septimus cried, as the dead man in the grey suit came nearer, getting up from his chair. The time, Septimus, Rizia repeated, trying to make him sit down. What is the time? The man in the grey suit must have noticed them. He was looking at them. I will tell you the time, said Septimus, very slowly, very strangely. Oh, very slowly, sorry. I will tell you the time, said Septimus, very slowly, very strangely, as he sat smiling at the dead man in the grey suit. A clock struck 11:45. Boom. And that's the end of section 5. Again, you've got the clock of Big Ben that strikes again. And then it's time to move on to another character, basically. So it rhythm very much the pace of the novel, and every time that we read that the bell strikes, the clock strikes, sorry, we move on to a new section of the book. So well. Tell me what you think about this part of the book about Rezia's thoughts and her relationship with Septimus, and how it really feels like it's two strangers cohabitating together, or having to cohabitate together, and they're kind of stuck in this situation. And Rezia is really struggling to understand her husband and questioning her whole life choices. You know, why did I leave Milan? Why he didn't leave me alone there in Milan. I was fine. My sister is still there, happy, making hats. And why am I here being miserable in this city that I hate, with this man that I don't recognize anymore? Yeah. So I leave you with not this chapter, but with this section of the book, reflecting on these two characters. And I would love very much to listen to your thoughts on the novel and your feelings about the characters, and how do you feel, and how do you kind of make sense of this novel and those characters, and at the same time making sense of Virginia Woolf's character, because this novel is very much a part of her. And even though it's not autobiographical, it's very much Septimus actually really very much is very much the character that is the closest to her. And you, as I mentioned earlier, with the references of the river and the sea, that comes back again and again in the novel, and also in her other novels. So I hope you enjoyed this live reading. Thank you so much for attending the live, and also for watching this live on replay on YouTube. Thank you so much. And please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel to have the notification as soon as I upload a video. And also make sure that you like the video as well, if you did, definitely, or leave a message, leave a comment about your feelings about this chapter, not this chapter, but this section, or about the novel as a whole. So make sure also that you subscribe to the book club. I would love to have you join. I would love you to join the book club and be part of this literary journey, and help you in improving your English as well. So I wish you a beautiful end of the day, beautiful weekend. This is it. That's the weekend. And I'll see you on Monday at 6:30 CET, Central European Time, for the reading of the section 6. Bye-bye.